Go ahead and there we go. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Shonda Harris. I'm a business opportunity specialist with the Columbus Small Business Administration, the SBA. And we'd like to welcome you to today's webinar. It's Wednesday, October 20th, and we are focusing on doing business with the state of Ohio. And today's webinar is a part of a collaborative effort with the Ohio University PTAC. Also, this webinar is being brought to you as part of a series, a training series, leading up to our large signature contracting event, the Ohio Business Matchmaker, which will take place in November 17th and 18th. If you're not aware, the Ohio Business Matchmaker is our largest signature contracting event, but it allows small businesses an opportunity to find out how to do business with government agencies, whether it's federal, state, city, and county. And so today we have the opportunity, a lot of times businesses may learn about, oh, there are these $1 million contracts. I just want to do business with the federal government. But a lot of times if you're just getting started or if you're just breaking into the government arena, a great way to do that is to do business with local entities and the state. So today we'll have an opportunity to learn about that. Again, this is a collaborative effort with PTAC. And so we do want to, before we get started, allow the PTAC, which stands for Procurement Technical Assistance Center, to kind of share a little bit about who they are and what they do, so that if you need some assistance with doing business with the government at any stage, the PTAC is a great resource to do that. And we have the Associate Director of the OU PTAC in Cleveland, the Ohio University PTAC in Cleveland, Jane Stewart. Jane, if you can tell everybody a little bit about PTAC so that they know who you guys are.
Thank you, Shonda, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm so glad that you could join us today. The Procurement Technical Assistance Center, PTAC, is funded by the Department of Defense to provide free services to small businesses. There's a PTAC in every state in the country, and we have 9 offices in the state of Ohio. PTAC can assist with all areas of government contracting on a federal, state, and local level. Some of our services include our daily bid matching program, where we can help to locate opportunities that are a fit for your company. Then once an opportunity is found, we can help you to prepare your bid or proposal. We can also assist with GSA schedules, getting registered in SAM, which is required for federal contracting. We can also assist with the various certifications, the SBA certifications, 8A, HubZone, veteran-owned small business, women-owned small business, as well as the state certifications, the MBE and EDGE program. And essentially anything else that you might need to pursue your government contracting efforts, please give us a call or send us an email and we'd be happy to assist you. I will put our website in the chat feature. So, and you can look up your contact or the contact information for your local PTAC office. With that said, thank you. And back to you, Shonda.
Thank you so much, Jane. And before we get started, we'll say a couple of housekeeping things. Today's webinar is being recorded. So if you're not able to stay the entire time, the entire session is being recorded and it will be uploaded to there's an app for the Ohio Business Matchmaker where you can go and register. All of the webinars that we're doing leading up to the Matchmaker, the one that we did, I think we started at the beginning of October, all those leading up to the Matchmaker up to November 17th will be housed on the Matchmaker site as well as the slides. So you can have access to those. It may take just a couple of days. If you do have a question, the presenter, this is an interactive session, and we found that that has really been, allowed our participants to really have a lot of value gain a lot of value. So if you do have questions, if you can put them in the chat, it'll bring up at the point, whenever you may have that question. Also, we will take questions at the end. And one last thing, if you're not presenting and you do have on your camera, we do want to ask that you will turn your cameras off, make sure that your mics stay muted so that there is no distraction during the presentation. With that said, again, today's presentation is being brought to us. The presenter is James Yagodich, who is a training manager with the Office of Procurement Services at Department of Administrative Services with the state. He is also being joined by Ms. Wayne McCulty, who is the Deputy Director of Procurement Services with DAS. So I want to go ahead and turn it over to James. James will be presenting, and I'm sure Mr. McCulty, if needed, will answer questions as we go along. But James, without further ado, you can take it away.
Thanks, Shonda. I appreciate that. Welcome, everyone. I'm glad to be here to help out, try to fill in some of those gaps of understanding how to do business with the state. I know it's always a question I hear every time we do a presentation. There's a lot of similarities, and I think everyone has a lot of the similar questions. So we try to gauge our presentation and help fill those gaps. And also with working with PTAC is a great opportunity for us as well to get out there in the community and get ahead of some of those questions so you're better prepared for opportunities. So again, my name is James Yagodich. I work for the Office of Procurement Services within the Training Academy. We support the state for all financial transaction trainings, making sure people have best practices. We do outreach efforts like this to help communicate the best practices and how to be better suited to make sure that you have opportunities available to you. We try to highlight a lot of that during this presentation. As mentioned, please feel free to ask questions in the chat. I will try to address those. Every topic, I'll kind of pause, see what's going on, if there's any questions, and try to address those at that time. If something comes up later, drop in the chat. We'll more than gladly go back and answer those questions during the Q&A as well at the end. If there's any bigger problems, shouldn't say problems, bigger questions that you may be encountering, maybe we can do a side parking lot and get back some better answers and be able to help assist that for the larger groups if they ever encounter those issues. So what I'll do, turn off the camera here, but keep the mic on and go through the presentation. Again, thanks for your attendance today, and we're going to get started. I'm going to share my screen here for you. There we go. All right. A little bit about DAS. The Department of Administrative Services is led by Kathleen Madden. Committed to providing quality centralized services, specialized support, and innovative solutions to state agencies, boards and commissions, as well as the local government surrounding the state of Ohio and state and universities. We have more than 40 program areas serving the Ohio government customers, who in turn directly serve the interests of the Ohio citizens, the taxpayers of Ohio. Our goal is to help procure goods and services, deliver information, technology and mail, recruit and train personnel, promote equal access to state workforce, we lease and manage office space, process payroll, print publications, and provide a wide variety of other services. And what we're going to talk about today is how to do business with the state of Ohio. A lot of times, like I mentioned previously, that we have lots of questions like, I want to be able to participate, I need, and sometimes we don't know how to do that. And hopefully today will help answer a lot of those questions. Again, if questions come up that aren't really helping out, drop them in the chat and we'll definitely explore those opportunities. But our goal is to explore some key areas to help better assist you in understanding how we do our business so you can identify opportunities for your business. First off, I'm going to start off with what the state buys. And sometimes that's a huge question. Maybe we don't know what we buy, or even as a previous state employee, I didn't know what the state purchased. I was unaware of, I always heard of the $20,000 toilet at the federal government, and everyone, I thought, I didn't know any better. So I'm trying to explain some things that we do, things that we don't do. Then I have to explain some rules and how we have to follow our purchasing requirements. We have to stay within a certain law that's laid down by our government to make sure we're having good transparency of how we're spending taxpayer dollars. Then I'll step into how we actually buy those goods and services. And then I'll touch on the importance of registration for you and your business, as well as how to navigate some online opportunities that are available for you in between solicitations, opportunities that exist, so you can keep an eye on where we're buying and when we're going to be buying those things. And finally, I'll review some best practices on how to respond to some opportunities, whether it's a one-time bid that's out there or an RFP proposal that's a larger solicitation that it's an opportunity for you and your business. Yeah, that's a lot of zeros, right? None of us get a chance to hold that much money, but the state spends that much money every year on a wide variety of supplies that run from July 1st to June 30th the following year. Each state agency, board, and commission are allotted certain fundage to buy supplies and services required to operate daily every facility across the state, whether it's an institution, Department of Youth Services, or it's the Department of Recreation, Parks and Recs, and those things where they have to be able to support that, man that, have the right supplies to have a great experience for you at the parks. State agencies spend approximately $1.5 billion on DAS contracts within addressable spend to purchase these items every year. So we're going to talk about some of those smaller parts and pieces where that becomes an opportunity for you. And here are just a few examples of the items that we purchase. It includes computers, vehicles for fleet agencies. As a good example is Department of Natural Resources. They have to have those trucks, those green trucks that drive around and pick up, and do the maintenance of the wildlife things. ODOT, their vehicles and so forth, and other agencies as they have to travel around to do their job. We have pharmaceuticals, food and professional services. So we basically purchase everything that you would need to run a business and maintain your household or anything like that. So the state is responsible for running 125 plus agencies, boards, and commissions that need to spend. So there's a lot of things that we buy and some crazy things we buy out there as well. So if you can think it, we probably buy it to help sustain our day-to-day operations within Ohio. So let's talk about some requirements for making these purchases. Not all the time that it's easy as we need something, we go buy it and then it's done. We want to make sure there's a transparency of our taxpayer dollars. As we're purchasing this specific widget, we have to make sure that we're not paying or overpaying for that, and we can have better competitive priced goods so that we can buy more and save more effectively. So one of our state agency rules, I'll call them, is our requisite procurement programs. State agencies are required by law to purchase from them first if the product or service is available. Going through here, we've got the Ohio Penal Industries. It is where the inmate work program through the Department of Rehabilitation and Correction provides items such as furniture, janitorial products. The community rehabilitation program as well is a legal requirement for state agencies to purchase from, as well as the political subdivisions across the state. This program allows nonprofit organizations to employ adults with disabilities that can have the opportunity to have a contract with the state. The CRP suppliers offer items such as writing instruments, latex gloves, janitorial, and landscaping services. Another one of the requisite programs is our Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. This is the state agency that partners with Ohioans with disabilities to achieve that quality employment and independence for our workforce that's able to be a part of that. They also partner with businesses and education and nonprofit organizations to help facilitate customize employment plans for Ohioans with disabilities, as well as help companies recruit and retain employees with disabilities. The Office of Information Technology focuses on developing contracts for various computer hardware, software, and services across the state. Also within the Office of State Printing and Mail Services, we have a full service print shop providing printing, mailing, and fulfillment services that we have to go through. And then down at the bottom, we have the pharmacy services that is responsible for providing pharmaceuticals to all the state agencies with institution programs that are out there that need that necessary support. And then the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. They're responsible for guiding state agencies and construction projects. All the K through 12 schools with capital construction project money, they have to go through that process as well. So those are, it's like our first line of checking off the list. We have to see if our product or services can be provided by this group of people before we can move on. So we've got to a point where the services that we're looking for, the products are not provided. So next step is we have to go look for existing contracts. And the Department of Administrative Services has a list of contracts that are required to be looked at, to be established for products, supplies, and services. Some of these contracts are mandatory, some are optional. The front page of our contracts identify how that is, whether they're a mandatory requirement for our agencies, so it helps guide them. So they have to make sure they have to purchase from them first before we go to the next step. So we have a few steps in line to make sure step one, we've checked off our requisite program. Step two, we've looked in the available contracts that are out there that are already established and nothing meets those needs. So our next step is where we have to establish a new contract. And that's where an opportunity for the supplier community comes into play. We have opportunities where we don't already have it, no one else provides it. So that's where our solicitations, our bidding process comes into place. So we got three key areas of our competitive selection process. Our invitation to bid, otherwise known as an ITB. This is where the scope of work or specification is very clearly defined, with no opportunity for a supplier to offer any options. Once the bidders have been determined to be responsive and responsible, the lowest quoted price wins the contract award. And when this is, and kind of a good example is, Department of Natural Resources does a fishing program. They need 10,000 fishing poles, and they have to be basic cast and reel fishing poles of 48 inches. And that's the very specific, has to be a certain brand. And, as being very specific that way, it's like whoever comes in with the lowest possible bid is awarded that opportunity. Now, as we get into the next category, the request for proposals, RFPs, it's where the scope of work is not clearly defined because an agency or the state is looking for the best solution within a certain set of parameters. Once the offerers are determined to be responsive and responsible, an RFP team will evaluate all the technical proposal, then they will score that based on our proposed solution. And then they look at the pricing, and then they look at actually reviewing that to find the best solution for the state. And a good example of this is where we are looking for an accounting system to replace an existing one. We don't know what we want, but we just need to have an accounting system. We don't know if it's a Microsoft or if it's something else that competes with Microsoft. It's the best fit, but we just need that. So we look at what best fits the state for cost, for actual product and solution to award that. And sometimes the award goes through a process of review. It may be a month, 6 months, maybe a year and a half as they go through all the technical reviews and all of the review of the cost process. But the award is made to the most advantageous offer to the state, because we are, again, trying to be transparent with the state taxpayer dollars to make sure we're not overspending on goods and services that can be provided elsewhere. And the last is our reverse auction. I know this is a type of bidding where the commodity is very sensitive and not used often. But a good example would be steel, where we're making license plates, all our license plates, negotiating, trying to have multiple bidders, suppliers, try to offer the state the lowest possible best value for them, for the state to purchase from it. Again, what's intended is the reverse auction. Most auctions, as you know, the prices go up. This is where the prices go down to best fit what we're looking for, and also to help provide opportunity for businesses to compete against one another, for the state taxpayer dollars to be spent appropriately. All right, another step within that, depending upon the service or the commodity, and those are like, when I say commodity, it's more like a category of goods, whether if it's office supplies, it's pens, paper, or if it's vehicles or computers, etc. They all have a commodity associated with them, a category code. And we'll talk about those here in a few. DES may choose to negotiate a contract by a state term schedule or a master maintenance agreement. These price schedules are negotiated and may be based on General Service Administration, GSA federal schedule pricing, where it's similarly situated and most favorable customer pricing, or maybe other competitively bid contracts from state or local consortiums. We partner with a larger multiple state consortium where we get together on one purchase, where we negotiate a contract that we can use across multiple states. I'm kind of trying to think of like Walmart. When Walmart buys in bulk, that's kind of like how we look at some of our contracts that are in that local consortium. A contract does establish a line item pricing through negotiation. The STS contracts are primarily with manufacturers and or non-IT service providers. STS contracts are non-mandatory and optional use contracts for the state agencies, and properly able to be registered with cooperative purchasing groups across the state that we work with, and that is your local governments, your local townships, fire departments, libraries, etc. State agencies now must obtain 3 quotes when buying from an STS. STS in the past were always reviewed as an opportunity for everyone one-to-one. As our process, transparency with the state, we do negotiate a contract, but we do like a competitively bid process to make sure we're getting the best value. So what we've done within that state term schedule is require every agency purchase that goes through an STS, they must have at least 3 quotes to purchase from that contract. And if they do not, then they have to go to the state controlling board for approval of that process if it does not exist. Not having quotes is not acceptable by the state transparency laws. So looking at that and additional information regarding the STS purchasing process, it's under our, we've got a procurement website I'll show here in a minute. Underneath the help and reference, there's additional information that kind of highlights that process that helps clear if there's any questions about that. But on the end of MMA, those are the master maintenance agreements, are for IT and non-IT products, hardware and services. And then we have the master license agreements. Those are your cloud software licensing related support services. And within the master service agreements, those are also provisions of internet-based like voice, data, telecommunications, networks, etc. And then the MCSAs, or where we're going to a lot of things now are in the cloud, and those are contracts that are negotiated to be available. But again, every state agency purchase has to be a minimum quote to make sure they're purchasing properly with the best price for the state. All right, so what we've heard about is the state buys a lot of things. There's a few hoops that we have to jump through to make sure we're purchasing following the law. Start looking through our process, our current existing contracts, and then we've actually had to, what our steps and what our processes are. Basically, we have to then create something. So next step, kind of put this in a chronological chronological order is like, want to go over establishing and managing a profile to do business with the state. The state has gone through a process of making sure that we have a proper, a secure transactional system. So when you're purchasing, there's no way, sorry, if you're purchasing, if you are participating in a solicitation, you can make sure that you are protected and it is your secure login and profile that's being built and supported on that. So we are pushing and asking all suppliers to get registered with the OHID to make sure you have the proper identification to help identify who you are when doing with the business with the state. And it also helps looking for solicitations and finding things online and getting that proper access to that information. And I'm going to walk through the next steps, kind of like a couple different areas where we're going to look at how to look at some of the links within our procurement website, and kind of how that, where we go and where you can go. And in additional, I'm going to be talking about our new platform, the Ohio Buys platform, and how that's working in collaboration with the Ohio procurement page. And maybe if you're familiar with our current website, how things are transitioning to a new endeavor for the state to use for online solicitation processes and bidding, and moving to more of an electronic process to create better efficiency for our contracts and our suppliers. Now, again, some of you may be familiar with this. It may not be something that you see every day or have ever seen. But like I said, we're currently in a transition from this process, looking at the Ohio Public Procurement site, otherwise known as procureohio.gov. A lot of times in previous materials, we referenced it that way. There are a lot of resources on this page for you as a supplier. As you can see on the top left corner, the suppliers drop down. We're going to go through some of those links here, but overall, to participate, we have to start in one spot, and that is looking forward to our Ohio Buys suppliers login. This is where you start the registration process and or connect to Ohio Buys if you're on the procurement site looking for opportunities. Suppliers are encouraged to register with the state, like I said, and what that does is it helps you receive courtesy email notifications when a commodity code or the United Nations Standard Products and Services code that you register under your profile is selected during a registration. As part of an advertisement on our website, you will be sent an email that notifies you of that opportunity for that particular good or service that you provide. So it's very important. We're going to talk about how to choose all your commodity codes, making sure that they're applicable to your supply and services that you have and what you provide. We also share the database with other state agencies and cooperative purchasing members. Like I mentioned, those are your counties, your cities, your villages, townships, and local school districts, as well as fire departments, libraries, and so forth. There's opportunities out there. I'm going to talk about those as well as other marketing opportunities for you for solicitation purposes. So at this time, I'm going to talk about how to walk through registering your profile for the state of Ohio, so that way you can start that process and start to look into all the opportunities that do exist within Ohio Buys and open solicitations across the state. OHID. And what we're branding here is, again, that's a secure account for you to make sure that no one else can log in as your company and do business on your behalf, or maybe to prevent any type of fraud that goes through that. Registering in Ohio Buys for your organization will help ensure your company has access with the necessary solicitations, the necessary ability to respond and reply to solicitations that are online. So within this process, this is our Ohio Buys landing page. Whether you're new, whether you are already currently registered, you'll land on that page and you'll get to this page where it'll display one of two options. you're going to create an account or log in, and you'll get an OHID. And what's really important is that every person within your organization, whether it's 1, 2, say 20, if you have a rather large organization, it'll be if they're going to be involved in solicitations and processes within purchasing, procurement with the state, paying bills and so forth, it'll be important that they have a registered OHID, so that way they can be linked to your organization. So there's no limitation of their access to support your business and do business with the state. Again, the OHID is just a secure single sign-on that provides everyone access to multiple state of Ohio systems that help support the procurement and the payment process. So once you go ahead and click on that create new account, and this is like any typical profile development, you're creating your personal information. And again, this is not your business. This is the person's name, John Smith. It's not Smith Incorporated. It's John Smith. You can get to the point where you can link your business to your profile in the supplier portal here on down the road. So basically, there's some basic terms and conditions regarding the creation, making sure you accept those. Your email verification. It's important to make sure that you're using similar emails, and maybe not say you're not using a Yahoo or a Gmail if you're using your business email, because that'll be a consistent way of reaching out to you. Even though maybe your Gmail, you put in the email verification, but when you go to your business and you're using John's or the Smith Incorporated email, there can be a trouble when they're not syncing or not the same because of the profile and how it's used. So, and I got some additional instructions and guides to help do that, troubleshoot that when you do have those issues. And it'll give you an opportunity to create some security options for your account, like questions like, what was your first pet? What's the first letter of the word purple? Just ways to help identify more secure sign-on to the system so that we're helping protect that. So once there'll be a one-time code sent to your email address, and then that email number, that code will be sent to you. And then what'll happen, then you can, when you log back in, you'll log in, and then you'll go through that window where you're a current user, you'll log in your OHID, your password, and then you'll be logged into the system. And there's going to be a difference between on the outside, not logged in, and then logged in the Ohio Buy system. And we'll cover that and kind of highlight that where you may not be able to see something. We have a lot of help desk cases where people saying they can't see it, but it's just a matter of logging in and connecting their users to their business profiles that helps alleviate that process. So again, the profile development, each important thing to take away, each person has to have that to be able to associate back to the business. But one of the things that comes along the way within that profile development is looking at what are my category codes and that my business offers that are, it's being notified for solicitation opportunities because the state uses category codes. And you may have heard of a couple common code systems such as the Standard Industrial Classification Code, otherwise known as the SIC code, or the NASIC, the North American Industry Classification System. Those are all, they're used across the globe under different ways of identifying what goods and services you provide. The state of Ohio uses the United Nations Standard Products and Services Code system to help code all of our goods and services that we purchase. So this is a website. Important to know the link because it's important to maintain your goods and services over the course of your business. If you're constantly adding new products and you don't have them updated on your profile and there is a solicitation, you will not be automatically notified. You will have to go in and look for those and do some more manual search. So it's important to maintain, understand what your business provides, so that way the automatic communications are available to your purview, so you can move forward and seeing if that makes sense to your company and what you can afford and placing a bid. Um, it's a real simple process. Just zooming in on the search code. One of two ways: you can search by a current number, and they range from 2 to 8 digits. And most of the time, new suppliers aren't familiar with that, but most of the time, everyone searches just by name. And looking at name, it's important to be general. If you're very specific about, let's say, Texas Instrument TI-84 calculator, and there you type that in, or is different than just adding machines versus, scientific adding machines. And so try to think in a high level if you're looking for a good or service. And we're going to do an example here. We're talking about janitorial, and you put janitorial in your search title, and what happens, it returns a set of results. And the best way that what helps is what you'll be able, we're going to cover. It's looking at this. There's what is there, seven different, 6 different lines of different codes. And making sure if you do janitorial, or if you did janitorial equipment or cleaning supplies, you may get less, you may get more, it just depends. So it takes a little bit of time to play around to find what the general word is within that tree structure. But what you'll see, if you notice on the 4th line down, the codes are starting with a new segment, and those are their first 2 numbers. Within the first 2 numbers, the state of Ohio uses 4. So the 4712 is what we use. We don't go past that because we want to make sure we're capturing anything underneath that specific segment when we're putting our solicitations out. Now, what's important is that as we go through this, what you'll see within this grouping, the codes are based upon a hierarchy system, but there's an outlier. As you see the 7611, it's important to make sure that when you're looking at your codes that you add all the necessary commodity codes there. Because if you would put 4712 and 4713, but you didn't put 7611, and the next solicitation that came out was just 7611 for some reason, and we would send all those notifications out to everyone who had that underneath their profile, they would get notified. And if you didn't, you wouldn't get that notification. And like I said, you would have to go out to the website, procureohio.gov website. You would have to go to Ohio Buys and look for solicitations that met that janitorial need within that 7611 type of services that we're looking for. So it's very important that you get those commodity codes associated with your business, so that way you have that opportunity to make sure that all those codes fit within your business opportunities. So big picture, you've got a registration, you've got an OHID, you've associated your UNSPSCs, you've associated your business, you've built your profile. Now what we're going to do, we're going to go look for some opportunities. But here on the screenshot, it's part of the presentation that everyone will get. There's some additional resources, a learner guide, additional walkthrough job aids that help you understand how to register the businesses. And we also have a help desk. If you have any questions, you can reach out to them. I'm part of my team is who helps resolve these cases. So we work on the inside and the outside of that process, helping suppliers, any agency users to be able to maintain the system. So questions, please feel free to use that service, and we will be back in touch with you to help walk you through that process. All right, like I said, finding opportunities online. It's important. Now you've got everything created. Now we're going to talk about 2 ways here. One, we're going to look at just the current existing platform, Ohio Procurement, like we just mentioned, and then we'll get into the Ohio Buys. And I'm going to step out and show some live demonstrations here in a couple minutes to kind of walk through that. So again, we land back on procureohio.gov or the Ohio procurement page. And like I mentioned earlier, the supplier header in the window shows you, once you expand that, there's contracts that are currently for suppliers, there's bid opportunities. And once we're going to focus on that is when you expand that, you're going to see Ohio Buys, IT specific, or all, or even construction, ODOT, and then printing. And there's a list of things as well on the left that you'll see that you can actually use to your advantage to do business once you're doing business with the state. But right now we're going to focus on looking at all the opportunities. And I think the best thing to say is always cast with a large net, not a small net. Unless you know specifically that you want to work with ODOT for a particular good or service. And now ODOT has their own webpage. So be mindful of that. You will be linked to their webpage by going to within that drop down Ohio Department of Transportation. So they do all their own solicitations and they manage that process. But we try all the state DAS managed contracts go through this process. So once you've selected that, what happens next, it opens up the opportunity search. And looking through the commodities, you'll see a lot of fields, whether it's a document bid number or an index number, keyword searches. You may type in IT or laptop or Dell or fleet or Chevy trucks. My best suggestion is always go to the commodity category and select all. Again, the larger net, and then what you can do is you can filter after that. That's an important step because if you're too small, you may miss out on something and you may not think there isn't an available opportunity when in fact there is. It just, you have to change the search criteria to be able to capture that. So once we put in that, we hit the go button, what you'll see is a display of results. And it'll list all the current results that are out there. You can see in the title. And what will happen too is like when you see a red link underneath the actual title of the solicitation opportunity, is not issued by Procurement Services. And that can be a different state agency that's the sponsor of that, but they're posting their solicitation to our website. In this example, that first line, the Department of Natural Resources is looking for a boardwalk project to be implemented at a state park. And what you'll see too is the opportunity type. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a one-time bid. This is where a supplier can come in and say, I can do that job. And it's not a reoccurring paycheck. It's a one-time purchase, one-time bid, and then it helps identify that on your opportunities. If you filter on that, you click the drop-down arrow and then pick ITB or RFPs or even RFQs. RFQs are just inquiries. We're requesting qualifications to be able to post another posting. So we're making sure everyone has the right skill set to be able to do the job we're looking for. So, and you got a lot of information on these lines. We're going to pick the third one down. What we're looking at is the Ohio Industrial Commission. They have a specific RFQ out. And you click on the link. All the open links connect to a more detailed approach to what's being out there. And what you'll see is now you'll see more of the opportunity of the title where they're dredging. They're looking for a swing and ladder. What you can go through the process, any additional associated documents that may be needed to be reviewed. We do have documents that are important to be reviewed, completed, submitted, and sometimes we even have required meetings that suppliers have to attend to be able to provide a bid. We also, here's a good example too, within the middle of the page, you'll see dates. We have an inquiry period, and that's where questions can be asked. If you're wondering like what exactly, after you've read through the document and you have questions, you have an open period to ask questions. But the good thing about this is that questions that you ask or other people are asking, you can see all the answers to those questions. And if there is a question that's asked, we point everyone back to this, and we don't answer those questions internally just because of it's an unfair advantage when we make sure everyone has the same answer, the same information to be able to provide a good quality bid. So again, there's a break in that period between the opening period and the opening date. And that's the date the bid submitted, and we take all our results and we review everything. So, but everything here on a basic opportunity tells you what it's available, who does it, what's it for, additional documentation, and an opportunity to put in a question or review other questions that have been submitted about it that will help you determine whether or not you can meet that need. So the next step, it's just the procurement page. This is how you a basic look at solicitation review. Like, these are opportunities that my business can look at. I can do a find or a dig into that, or I can just kind of review. I don't see anything there. The next thing we're going to look at is how we're going to be switching to Ohio Buys. And the same information we've looked at here is supposed to be in a different format, but I just want to show you how that works and kind of talk through that as well. Ohio Buys. Ohio Buys is the state's new online purchasing solution that's going to be empowering both our buyers and interested suppliers. This is an opportunity where we can modern and leverage innovative technologies, streamline the processes, create a better efficiency of doing business, and also opportunities to partner with other businesses in Ohio easier and much more effectively when trying to get bids and solicitations. This has been developed and operated by the state Ohio Department of Administrative Services. Fundamentally, it will transform our process of purchasing, and then moving forward, it will roll into higher education institutions, local government use as well in the near future. Our goal is to provide this platform to all entities so that we can have more of a centralized approach for those goods and services that are being solicited for the supplier community. So you don't have to go to 4 different websites. We can try to accommodate and consolidate things into one less page potentially. So, and just like I showed a few minutes ago, the Ohio Buys landing page, if you get to it through an email or if you're on the procureohio.gov website, same way to look at it, but the way the structure is, as you see at the bottom, we have a list of widgets, whether it's public solicitations, the public catalog, the open contracts, public records, and other procurement opportunities, which link back to the procure. So these two are connected back and forth. So with one, you can get to the other and so forth. So it's a good tool to make sure you're able to find opportunities that are existing. Not everything is on both at this time. We're heading toward that part. So it's important to be looking within both. So basically the public catalog, you can see all the public catalog items that are available to state. So if you're interested in looking to see what current pricing is, what current price models that other people are using, and that the winning bid, you'll be able to see that. Procurement opportunities, like I said, links back there. And then public contracts is a place where you can see contracts that have already been awarded by the state, as well as details, such as an effective date or even an expiration date, the documents that were submitted for that due to transparency laws. Everything's, once you win, everything's public. So that way, if you're looking at a business and the contract ends January 2022, and that goods and services is something that your business provides, you have at least an understanding what was provided previously for the previous contract. So that way it helps you understand where you need to be providing that bid come January for that renewal and or potentially opportunity that could be out there for you and your business. Public records is also a place where you can request details of public procurement information. If there's any information that you're needing, there's a public records request option through that. We're going to be looking at public solicitations here. And what that does, it pulls up all the current Ohio Buys solicitations that are available. Just like the last procureohio.gov, it listed the name of the solicitation. It talks about the type of solicitation, the date it was issued. Here you'll be able to see, like you could before, MBE set aside if your business is certified with MBE. You can see which ones that actually can apply to you. And in addition, if you have those commodities to bid on. So within each one of these, instead of clicking on the hyperlink, we click on the pencil on this new platform. And by clicking on the left side of the menu, you can see this little gray pencil. By clicking that, and it opens up, you can see the details regarding this solicitation, where it clearly states it's an MBE set aside. So only those bidders with active certification of the close of the bidding can respond to that. So it's important, if you are looking at that as an opportunity, to be just to make sure you are certified by the bid closing, or you will not be able to respond. Your bid will not be selected. So if you look on the far right side, you'll see a list of documents that come with this particular solicitation. You can see the RFQ, an affirmation disclosure form, acknowledgement form. There's a terms and conditions that you have to review. And it's very important. I'll say this now and later. Read all of the documents, review all the documents, make sure you understand all those. And because if you do not complete a document, we do have a state auditor at every submission and bid opening times that you must have all the content with you. It can't be added later. So it's very imperative that you double check and make sure you read all the documents for whatever solicitation, if it's on Ohio Buys or it's on the procureohio.gov website, to make sure you are checking everything off that list. So it's an opportunity. DAS, ohio.gov, Ohio Buys takes you to our website, where you can actually you can get to fact sheets, instructional videos. There's actual supplier learner guides that really focus on what you need to do and how, like I mentioned earlier, I put a few slides back where I had the resources. And at the end of the presentation, there's a list of additional resources as well, that kind of hyperlinks and websites that'll direct you to those locations. But it's important that you're looking within Ohio Buys, getting registered, and looking at the procureohio.gov website to make sure you're covering all the grounds and making sure your profile has your up-to-date UNSPSC values, because those are the email notifications you will get if you perhaps you miss those. So very important. So at the end of the website, I'll go over a slide. It details how to get everywhere, where all the links are at. That'll point you in that direction. One thing I want to talk on real quick is marketing your business. As you know, we have to follow the rules. We have to use certain contracts. We have to then negotiate. Then we have to bid the contracts out, or where the solicitations I've just gone over, like you have to put your best bid in, and say none of those apply to you in your business, and you're in between. You're thinking, well, the state still spends money. The state as a whole, yes. An important part of being a supplier is marketing your business. And what we found out is it's a key part of your strategy to provide services and products to agencies. And here's a couple of ways to highlight some of that. I'm gonna quickly touch on just a couple minutes, the political subdivisions, as I talked about, whether it's the fire department, whether it's the local township or city that you live in. There are lots of purchases that can be done locally, that local businesses, each county, there's 88 counties, and I'm going to show you, I'll go to the map link is an interactive link. It'll open up and you'll be able to go to each county, and you can go to a list of, it'll tell you a whole lot of information and people you can reach out and contact to see if they're in need of services or products that your company has. Again, it's a way to help market with that. And then we're going to quickly talk about the Equal Opportunity Division. That was recently under the DAS responsibility, but that has moved to the Ohio Department of Development to bring together a one-stop shop. And where back in July, House Bill 110 allowed the Department of Development to realign to meet their core mission to assist small, minority, and disadvantaged businesses to have a one-stop shop. And supporting programs within that umbrella would be your MBE, minority business enterprises, your EDGE, your encouraging diversity, growth, and equity, women's business enterprise, the veterans friendly business enterprises as well. So it'd be important to go into the website, and again, I've added it to on the slide, the very end, the last slide, kind of where you can link to that and you can get access to that information. But they used to do within the MBE program, they would do a projected expenditure by account codes, and what every fiscal year they would look ahead and say, we're going to spend, these are the contracts that we're going to have MBE focused opportunities with. The state's required to spend 15% of its spend toward MBE programs. So it's something our office monitors daily within our contracts. If a contract falls outside for some reason and they're not an MBE, they'll renegotiate, repost a contract again to focus on an MBE efforts, because of making sure the state meets those quality efforts of giving better diversity to smaller disadvantaged businesses. Another way, and I'm going to talk about this in a big picture, it always confuses me, so I'll do my best to explain this, but the Direct Purchase Authority, otherwise known as DPA, this is where any purchase that exceeds $25,000 by an agency must go through the requisite program review. And what it is, and basically it's a checks and balance, making sure that if the state agency is going to buy something over $25,000, that they're actually spending the money on the proper things, like I mentioned earlier, making sure there was a cut, it can't be fulfilled somewhere else, or if there's an existing contract, maybe someone didn't pay close attention and saw that it was, or is an oversight. So if an item is not available through one of the program resources, like I mentioned, and it doesn't exceed $50,000 per that particular supplier per fiscal year, the agency can use their own direct purchasing authority. So what that leads to is like that you can actually directly market to agencies. Say you have a widget that the Department of Corrections, Rehabilitation Corrections, you feel like could be a great opportunity for them to purchase. You can reach out to them directly. And within that, there is a way to reach out to that group of people across the state. Within the procureohio.gov website, again, all the links that I've identified within the PowerPoint link to these particular locations, as well as the last slide deck has a list of these as well. So selecting that agency contacts, what it shows is a list of all the agency procurement officers across the state for all the agencies. And in regards to doing business, you can contact, market them directly to see if that's an opportunity. And now what then can happen if they're interested and it fits within within the rules, then they can move forward and an opportunity to do that. But it's important to make sure that marketing your business, reaching out to those types of entities to, because maybe sometimes a contract has a 2-year lifespan, and your business, you're waiting for your widget. And again, within the DPA, each agency can spend up to a certain threshold. In doing so, it provides an additional opportunity for getting business with the state. Okay. Any questions right now? I do see a question from Donna, and I will show that. I'll cover that here at the end, if that's all right, Donna. How to get to the website. All right, so I'm going to quickly go through this so I can get to like the live part of the show here. An important part of responding to invitations to bid, whether they're paper or electronic, since there are 2 types right now that are coming from the state. Our paper bid process, we communicate that, you're notified via email, it's posted on the website, but you have to submit things in person, physical documents to our surface road location. Each bid opportunity has a specific time by which to have it delivered. Same thing with our electronic process when using Ohio Buys. You must be registered, you must be in the system, making sure everything's in the system electronically. Nothing can be received physically for these new types of solicitations. So it's important to make sure that if you run into problems, run into difficulties, that you give yourself enough time to meet those expectations. So here's a basic paper invitation to bid. Something that's posted out there, like we saw a couple minutes ago with the boardwalk for DNR. They're looking at that. One of the important parts of this is making sure that you read the entire document thoroughly and complete all the required parts and pieces. If you have to submit something, if you have to provide 4 or 5 attachments per the specifics of that, making sure that you have all that when you submit the bid. It is important to have all that documentation because, like I mentioned, we do have an auditor on site that when we go through the process, they will validate that all the necessary pieces are there so we can proceed forward with the review process. Because like I mentioned, the one-time bids are once the lowest, most responsible bidder with the lowest price is awarded that. So there's no review, it just goes into that process, making sure they meet all those things. So if you are going to mail, if you're going to have a courier deliver, it's important that they deliver to the right location and they have to be in the door received prior to 1 o'clock. If you get it and everything's time date stamped, if you hit 101 and you ran into traffic, you're coming from Cleveland, you're coming from Cincinnati, there's nothing we can do about that. 101, it will be considered late and will not be reviewed for the solicitation. So make sure that it gets there prior to the timeline, or you make necessary efforts to do that with a courier on that, because we will not accept any late bids. And it's also important to remember, again, that you're certified as an MBE at the time of the bid opening. So, and those bid openings are Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, our typical bid openings when these solicitations end, and everything's open at 1 o'clock. So just keep that in mind as you go through this process of submitting good bids for any types of paper solicitations. Now, electronically, it's important to review, again, the invitation to bid, making sure you understand, you review the whole entire one-time bid document through Ohio Buys. And what you'll see is, like in this screenshot, it's a good example of that you're registered, that you are connected to your supplier profile, because this page lets you actually respond to the solicitation. If you have not registered, you cannot get to the step. You will then need to put a help desk ticket in if you are not linked to your business. And again, that is something that you have to time accordingly, because it doesn't happen just and immediately. You have to go through a process, putting a ticket in, getting back in touch with you, helping resolve that issue. So sooner the better that you start applying, submitting your proposals, solicitation responses, so that way they can be accounted for. So the key things of responding electronically are, you have to agree to the terms and condition. You do have to submit any inquiries for clarification. Again, there's questions or documents that have to be replied to. You do have to attach any spreadsheets for items, any questionnaire tabs that are provided. And those are questions that you must, just same thing if it was a paper, but again, these are electronic steps. And be prepared to respond to any clarifications requested by the state. For something, there could be a follow-up that you're not responding, and you sent something in early and there's a question for some reason, you have to make sure that you're ready to be responding to any clarifications that are submitted to you. And again, making sure that you are certified at the time of bid opening. Ohio Buys bids have to be submitted through the system. They cannot be done on paper, delivered to our surface road location in Columbus. They have to be done electronically. And they have to be received prior to the end date time to be considered for the award. So for a reason, all the bid openings, just make sure you understand that the bid opening must be submitted. So there will be no excuses made, accepted for that. Our hard and fast rule is no, if it's 101. So we're getting in the world of technology and internet, Wi-Fi, computer crashes. Those are things out of our control. Those are things that we have a timeline, and if we stick to it. So unfortunately, just make sure, make every effort to get that in ahead of time so that there's no last minute problems. Unfortunately, I know it does happen, but we cannot accept late bids, whether they're paper or electronic. And once the bid opening is complete, again, they'll review that. Once they identify the lowest price with the best responsive bidder, then you'll be able to see that on the public portal, or you'll get a purchase order cut to you and sent to you to be able to fulfill that immediately within that process. Now, going through that, it gets posted, and then we looked at current contracts. You would be able to see that on the website. Someone else could see that, and they would be able to see what you offered. Your competitors, for example, will be able to see what the winning bid was at that time. And it's you as well. If you missed out on it, you could see what was delivered once that gets reviewed and posted to the site. Now, we'll quickly go through this just so I can get to the live stuff real quick. Responding to a request for proposal, those are our RFPs. And one of the big things is within the RFPs is it's the best value rather than a lower bid. We want to make sure we score people according to the solicitation within the technical requirements, what we're looking for, not necessarily the cost, because a low cost may be a poor product, but also a high cost may be a poor product as well. So we look at those two things separately, and again, most advantageous to the state. Important parts of the proposal, again, this comes down to reviewing all of the requests for information, how this is going to work, if you have meetings, how it's evaluated. And then we look at like the attachments. Those are certain specific requirements that you must fill out. So again, the RFP is a little more time consuming. There's a lot more work that goes into that because usually there's larger software programs, things of that nature that require a lot of additional documentation. So making sure all the necessary attachments are completed. And once everything has been fulfilled, we do, again, you have to submit that proposal. Our RFPs have been going through a paper process and electronic process. So making sure you know how to respond to that. But please note they're two separate sealed envelopes and packages separately containing that information have to be identified because if for some reason, if you don't mark those and we read the cost before we read the technical, it's hard to be an unbiased view of that because we want to make sure we're getting the best physical solution to what we need, not focusing on the cost to take any type of consideration for that. And these are actually reviewed by a state auditor. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays as well are our bid opening for all of our activities within that proposal process, solicitations. So again, once those have been reviewed, it may take up to a month, 2 months. Like I said, I've seen a few where it's been 9, 12 months before we actually come to a conclusion with what's best for the state for the taxpayer dollar spend. So, and those, don't be alarmed if you're involved in those and it takes longer than a one-time bid where it might be a very short amount of time to determine that winner. So real quick, big picture. These are all the links for Ohio Buys. This takes you right to the Ohio Buys website, takes you to that blue screen where you can log in and then type in your OHID and your username, and then you can get into electronic solicitations. This Ohio Buys Public provides where you can actually see what's currently in Ohio Buys, those specific solicitations. Procurement opportunities. This is the procureohio.gov website. This is where you can, that red page where I showed you to begin with, where it launches, where the little kids on the picture, and that's where your supplier drop down is. State of Ohio procurement is that particular page, that home page. So we have additional trainer supplier resources that are available to all suppliers within that. And again, all the stuff I mentioned are within here. And then again, the state of Ohio maps. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna sell this real quick, because once there's another part to this, big picture wise, you've understood how the state does business, how we have to follow rules, how we have to do this. And now we have to bid these contracts out, opportunities, we have to negotiate, review, assign a winner, big picture. So now what we have every Friday during the month of October, and starting in November, every 2 weeks, we have an access and solicitations webinar that really dives into Ohio Buys. And for you as a supplier, it's a great tool to understand how that works further once you get into Ohio Buys, how to move around, how to identify, how to respond to solicitations in more depth than what I covered. My team works through these. They're an hour long. It's a great opportunity to get additional information regarding the supplier community. We're going to start, we have a communication network that gets sent out. So if you're currently a supplier, you'll be on that communication. If you're not, I encourage you to use the supporting documentation today, attend this webinar so that you can get registered and get those communications that are coming out that'll help with your potential solicitations. So again, all this information is included in the slide deck that will be sent out after the meeting's over. And that I believe is going to be posted as well, so that you can reference that. But anyway, I believe all the attendees will receive this. So let me jump out here and cover a couple things. And let's see here, where was I at? Here we go. All right, everyone see my screen? All right, so what I'm looking at here, what we talked about for suppliers, we have the bid opportunities. You can immediately choose Ohio Buys opportunities or all opportunities. And what this takes you to is what I showed you earlier. But again, the login, and there's a lot of additional information that we have on this site that I encourage you to look through, click through. State agencies as well use this. We're looking at taking this information and recrafting it into a new website that kind of puts it in a better format for us. But let me just show you real quick the cooperative purchasing program. This is the groups of people that work in your local communities. They have to pay a small fee to be able to use some of our contracts, but also that you can reach out to them regarding potential opportunity when marketing to them. So when I was mentioning that interactive Ohio map, so I'm just gonna do Franklin County. And what Franklin County does when I click on it, it opens up a list of people like Bexley Schools, Blendon Township. There's a contact name, there's an address, there's an email. If you're looking to target your solicitation, your marketing to a specific group or groups of people. Now, as you can see, there's 6 pages of this, and it works for every county, whether it's Franklin, let's go down to Claremont, City of Milford, Claremont. So all these locations have somebody that you can reach out to, and in addition to what's available on an open solicitation. So everyone's purchasing stuff. Sometimes people like to purchase local, take advantage of the opportunity. I've always encouraged people to reach out to these entities to see if it makes sense. We're trying to help point everyone to the best place for the best spin that's out there to encourage competitive bidding across the board within the borders of the state. So an important part of that would be, looking at that, identifying it, and then reaching out. And within the UNSPSC, like I mentioned as well, always look at the code. We were looking for some things back when COVID started, and we were looking at commodity codes. I was trying to help a supplier, and as you can see, there's a large number of with the word sterilization included or other things. So making sure you review those larger words and maybe use a thesaurus and try to type in some different words and see if those return additional results, because the state uses those first four to be able to notify you potential, if you're registered, notify those people of those commodity codes in there, as well as making sure you have those as well, because if you don't have that code, again, all you need is 85450000, and that's your higher umbrella, your higher hierarchy of codes. So that captures everything. So it's really important to maintain those as your business grows, or even if you consolidate, making sure you're providing the right commodity codes for your business to get notified. And then Ohio Buys, I'm just going to touch on here. This is included in those links I just covered. We have supplier information. So everybody who is looking to be a supplier to use Ohio Buys. We have opportunities for catalog development. If your business has lots of items and you want to put a catalog together, you can reach out to our team. They can help you build a catalog in the system that when people are looking for a particular widget in our statewide catalog, it can pull up and be viewed. There's also guides to current contracts, how to manage that. We do have announcements where we put out information that's coming from them, from the team out to everybody. And then we have training resources. And we have webinars, like I mentioned in the slide. And then also we got training. If we go here, it's specific training for suppliers to how to manage your profile, how to respond to any solicitations, acknowledging purchase orders once you're a part of that solicitation and have won that contract. We have, like I said, webinars. I added 2 to ours. The one you're getting today has the November one scheduled, but all of our existing documentation that walks you through step by step of all of the processes that you would encounter as a supplier. We have videos if you would rather look at those, to watch those to understand things. And then we have a long list of job aids that are very specific per task that identify if you have to do a return or a reject or something that comes up with, and there's an improvement plan. Say there's a process to improve the process of the contract that's not meeting the expectations. There are steps and ways to do that. And actually create an invoice from a purchase order. So there's a lot of things that highlight on this page that would be applicable to those suppliers who are going to be doing business with the state. And again, and how to get registered and how to manage that process. A great tool, again, this is provided in the additional links. I suggest going through those, looking through those, getting familiar with those to help provide you with some more comfort level. And then we do have the help desk that people could create questions and ask through that. And we can do one-on-one sessions where, if you have trouble, I've had a few of my staff spend an hour online because things didn't get matched up properly and we got too far down the path, and we had to help them get restructured and get set up so they can actually have success moving forward and getting registered and looking at the proper bids that are out there. Again, most of our websites are all transparent. There's nothing that you're seeing here that you wouldn't see because of my login. This is a website. This is the state website. So everything, there's more information about FAQs, other things that impact the supplier, this the home process and how that's supposed to be, and how that entails and how that connects to everything that we're doing, especially here, getting people ready to participate in this. And then again, Ohio Buys, that's our landing page. That's where you're going to come in. You're going to log in. Oops. And mine pre-populates because I'm in the system, but creating that account, getting that set up. And once you do have it set up, you can log in and just get right in the system and see the system and do that. But I encourage you to attend a webinar on a Friday and from the slide deck and look at those and join a meeting and get some more in depth about utilizing the Ohio Buys program for opportunities looking at current solicitations. And again, there's 2 platforms. We're trying to make sure you're aware of both as we're in our transition period. So take a look at this page as well as Ohio Buys and those additional documents that I attached to the presentation. And hopefully that gives you a clear view of opportunities and maybe even questions that can come up where we can help out with from a training perspective. And back to this page, what we see here, if you have any questions following up the session, please reach out to your PTAC representatives, or if you have a current contract issue that you're working on, feel free to reach out to our team about the presentation. I can follow up with you, but I do encourage you to work with your PTAC group for assistance on those matters as well. And that's all I have for today. I know I've maximized as much time. Where did I go to find local contracts? Let's see here. Are you talking about, let's see, Stephanie, are you referring to the procurement opportunities for?
I just recall that you had shown the state of Ohio map and then you clicked on the county and then that brought you to
This
where
right
I
here.
believe. Okay.
Yeah, the state of Ohio map of counties. That's that link right here.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. And like I said, that's every county has a list of people. So 88 of them last I counted in the state of Ohio. So that's a lot of opportunities out there. But into the presentation, I guess, any questions or anything that someone might want some more information on?
Hi, this is Donna. I want you to show me the page where you had the pencils again, how you got to that.
Yep, no problem. We're just going to go to the Ohio Buys home. Let me just switch screens here. Give me 1 second here. Why is this? Okay. All right, with an Ohio Buys screen, let's see here. Let's do. So the Ohio Buys website that is on our list, Ohio Buys home. And then the public solicitations, these are the ones that are currently available. So that's the link where all of these will display, and all you do is click on edit, and that's just the verbiage. And what that does is by clicking edit, opens it up and displays the information in there. So once you're registered, this box to participate in the RFX, and as you can see, there's a message, I need to log in or register. So you will see that if you go to the public, you're on the public portal and you're just looking around, you're trying to find an opportunity. When you click on the pencil, if you're not logged in or associated, you will see this message, and then you'll have to register, make sure your OHID is associated and is correct. And then this button will be green. Is it blue? I think it's blue. To be able to respond to this, for instance. And this is a quick quote. This is the type of like a one-time bid where an agency is looking for, it's on contract. They're looking for the dealers of the specific contract to provide the best quote for lint-free wipes that they're currently requesting. So there are no documents associated with it here. Other inquiries. And then as you can, if you open up that, you can see where there's more information required, what type of quantity they're looking for, what type of detailed description that provides to that. But again, you have to be logged in and registered to be able to participate, to actually respond to it. Does that make sense? I hope
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So nothing you can do wrong by clicking the word edit. I know it sometimes seems like I don't want to edit anything, like I'm going to change something. That's not here. That's not the problem. Just click on the edit. It'll open up that, and you'll be able to see, as I mentioned here, you could look. These are all types of quick quotes, little one-time bids. Here's a public notice where you'll see the begin date and then the actual end date. So the bidding opportunity starts from October 19th. That would be yesterday, and then going through November 9th. And then you can inquiry, you can ask questions up and through the 4th of November. And you can see the MB set-asides that are existing as well, like I showed you in the slideshow. And there's lots of results here. So up here at the top, you can type in keywords. You can look up commodities. They're really broken out into multiple groups of things, whatever you prefer to look for. Like I said, sometimes it's easier to cast a large net, or you can pick through some of the commodity selectors. If you know that cleaning equipment your company sells, vacuum cleaners, I'm not saying we'll just use that, or cleaning supplies, like the janitorial part, you could just identify that and have a return on within that, and it'll bring back those commodities. No, sorry. And there we go. So it'll return here, and then you see up in the screen where we've got equipment, those commodity codes, that 470000 and the 4712. And anything that's currently, it'll pull back those items that are out there. So you can go through there and look through that, or you can just go through a wide net and just getting comfortable with using that. And there are quite a few lists that are out there that unfortunately, but you can narrow it down. If you're looking for MB set aside, certain types of status. You can review something that's old or closed. So again, it comes down to what you're looking for, and getting comfortable with this process, getting used to looking through that. And you can even look through agencies that, the Department of Aging had a solicitation out for pamphlet printing, and your business is printing, and you could look up any type of solicitations they have out for things. So lots of different ways to search. But again, the first one lands on everything, and just whatever you feel comfortable on how to sort So hope that helped out a little bit more within that process.
It
Again,
did.
if
And
okay,
you said all of these bids are electronic?
all the bids in here are electronic, yes.
All right.
So you have to reply. That's why I was saying you have to make sure that you meet the deadline. Make sure there's no technical problems. Make sure you get confirmation. You know, with our learner guides and those job aids, walk you through step by step. We also have our help desk that can help walk you through if you're having problems. We can assist with that. The job aids are very clear. We've done a lot of review and updating based upon feedback we've had over the past year and a half of our Ohio Buys system, making sure that people have the best information to be able to do those tasks within our new system. And for those bid opportunities, like I mentioned, this is where, let me go back here. So Ohio Buys kind of takes you back to that home page. So anytime you get too far in here, this always brings you back to this page right here. Again, you can look at public contracts that are out there.
Reynolds, please leave me a message and I'll give you a call back. Thank you.
There's a public catalog. Let's talk about like public contracts. Like I mentioned, these are current ones that are out there that you could look at to help judge whether or not when they're awarded, what was the price for the services, what type of market type it was, whether it was open for everybody to bid on, or it was very specific to MBE or MBE3 or Edge. We have a 5% focus on Edge purchases as well. So it's a great way to help drive where you're marketing, and you kind of, again, look at what opportunities are coming up. You can look at award dates, end dates. You can look at those and see, like right here, this janitorial services for this office ends January 31 of 2022. And if you're in that area and that's something you can provide them, that you can see kind of what opportunities may lie ahead on any of these existing end dates, and for better planning purposes for you and your business. So but again, using Ohio Buys to get back to the main page to search. Now this right here, this links to this page. So it's connected. That way you don't have to go to type in a different website. You can just click on the link and it'll take you there. And then, or you can move and go back to it. Or sorry, you can go to the solicitations. So automatically within Ohio Buys, it displays all of them. Within the procurement page, you have to select, it defaults to all, and then you have to hit the search button to provide all of the ones that are posted.
All right.
But again, if you look through, if you're looking through the procureohio.gov, it's important you can see a one-time bid, like, or you can see an RFP. Sometimes, again, it just depends on what your business is providing. You can see the posted date when it was actually put out there, as we call it, on the street. It's like industry standard terminology for some reason. But then the opening date, when like the bids are going to be open, that the 8th of November at 1 p.m. you have to have all your materials ready, delivered. Let's just look at that real quick. Yep, it tells you the inquiry date runs until this Friday. And then it tells you the date it opens, the estimate of the award date, like they're looking to hopefully be able to award it by the 15th of November. You can look at actual Q&A within that. If you were curious, like what types of questions, nobody's asked any questions, so might be a straightforward process. But what you may see here too are these documents and the actual addendums, addendas and amendments, sorry, that kind of provide more detail to what they're asking, what they're looking for. So it's very important to thoroughly go through these solicitations, because we've seen people quickly go through them just to get the bids in, and sometimes they miss a step, and then they don't get an opportunity to get their bids reviewed and with a potential award because they didn't do a few steps, and they may have had the best price, the best thing for the state, but they just didn't cross a few T's and dot a few I's, and they had it delivered at 102, and then there's nothing we can do about that, unfortunately. That gets applied to all bids within that. So again, it's important that when you're looking through this, looking through all the documents, reading all the documents, and replying to the questions if you have any, because that there's a lot of value in that, having opportunity to see other questions and be able to ask questions to help drive that. Now, if you would get a hold of someone within that agency and ask questions, they would not be able to answer questions regarding the solicitation. Excuse me. So it's very important to make sure that reading, asking questions within that. Same thing within the solicitation, but here to respond to it, you do have to be registered and logged in to be able to do the electronic part and get into the Q&A process. So getting your OHID, establishing that, your profile, managing that, getting that set up. Strongly encouraged to attend one of our Ohio Buys supplier webinars to help get some more information of the further steps down the road that'll help you use and manage this site more effectively. Also within, I guess I'll just jump over here. It's just got to hover over it. What I mentioned earlier, there's FAQs out there, reference materials. There's state spend data. If people have questions, a lot of information on this page. Again, everyone sees the same thing. There's no security to this, that certain people see certain things. This is where the contacts were for the agency procurement officers. I believe it's like a PDF spreadsheet. It lists every agency in the contacts, so you can reach out to them. So there's a lot of good information out here and links to those things. So feel free to look through this. You definitely can find some resources. Cooperative purchasing group, like I mentioned earlier, it identifies those townships, local governments that you can market to as well. That's where the map is within this. And what you can see is there's opportunities. And like I said, they have to pay a fee, a small fee across based upon that, but they're able to use contracts with the state. So a win-win is if you win a solicitation, you have it on a contract, they're able to purchase potentially off of that as well if it's identified, or you can market to them based upon just a direct contact. And then ODOT again is a little different. They're broken into different districts. I think 12, yeah, across the state. So that's another way to look out for Department of Transportation information for that. So, but again, this website provides you a lot of great detail. We do have notifications up on this page. We do have paper bid processes that are identified through this process, but our electronic is done through the Ohio Buys program. So we are moving towards everything being in Ohio Buys, but there's a lot of contracts, there's a lot of processes that we're getting in line, and there's a lot of agencies across the state we have to partnership with to get everything together to put in there so we can have one centralized location, so we can do things electronically to make that more efficient for everyone.
Can you show an example again on the page where you had the all and you type in something to show how you get to it?
Are we looking at Ohio Buys
The
or
procurement, the
Okay.
procurement page?
Okay. So what you can do is if you just go to suppliers, bid opportunities, or you can go here, or you can go over here as well. Just there's multiple ways to the same thing on most of our pages.
Okay, this page right here.
Okay, yeah. So again, you could know a document or a bid number. You can know an index number if you're very specific. Sometimes a state agent, once a contract has been developed, it has a specific index number. It's identified by something, and agency staff use it to find the contracts to make their purchases with. But suppliers can come in here and look for opportunities as well for keywords. It's defaulted to all these settings. Now, if you click on the drop down, it gives you a whole list of different commodities. Again, I suggest all because it casts a larger net versus if you just go, if you don't pick the right one, you may not see the opportunity that you're looking for as well. And then once you don't have to do anything, and all you do is hit search, and then that'll display the list where you can get down to the fine details of a particular solicitation. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions or I can help out with, or explain something a little bit more? Or again, like I said, the slide deck will be provided to everyone, to my understanding. Links that we covered today, even the ones I'm showing here, are included in that additional resources slide. I do suggest if you do get a chance this month, next month as well, attend one of the Ohio Buy Supplier webinars to help really kind of see the next few steps in the process.
I need help on bidding. Because I've bidded on a couple of contracts and I lost one of them by like $9.60.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I just lost one the other day. Well, I didn't know the county had a tax form. She ended up sending it to me, but I lost that one by like $300. So I really need some help on knowing how to bid.
Well, I think one of the good things, like I mentioned, like this, I'll use this like for Ohio Buys. You can look at the public contracts. That's a good way to help you identify what's currently on contract that won the last bid. I think that's a good tool for and it's opening here shortly. It's a good tool to be able to break it down by types of commodities or end dates, so you can kind of look through and see exactly what things were paid for from Ohio Buys perspective. Now, within Ohio procurement, you have that opportunity as well. There's a current contract search that you can log into as well. It looks a little different, but similar to what we just did for the search for solicitations, but you can search anything, and then you can, all these are the current contracts, and you can search and it help you identify like where your market is, whether it's, like you said, you lost it by X amount of dollars. You can, but other than, I don't know, and that's probably the best way to kind of help target that. We don't do any like reverse auctions, like I mentioned, which would be a good opportunity for, it's kind of like lowering that price point so everyone knows what it is as they're going down. Because when you do bidding, you just kind of blindly bid and you do what you think's the best number. I think using these current contracts on the Ohio Buys and the Ohio procurement site will help understand that, like, best practice of, like, if it's within this realm, I need to be X amount of dollars or 10% lower. I mean, maybe that's your own personal thing, but I would suggest using those tools to at least give you some base of where you need to be for the next bidding opportunity.
James? James,
Yes.
this is Shonda. Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
I know with the federal government, even with state and local, typically when you you don't you lose the bid, you can ask for what's called a debrief. And you do have to ask that within a certain time frame after the contract closes. So even as PTAC counselors, they will recommend, sometimes even if you win, but with that debrief will give you an opportunity for that acquisition personnel, if it's the contracting officer, specialist, whoever it may be at the state, and you can kind of go over, you know, kind of what were the things, like you said, you do know the dollar amount, but maybe you could ask more specifically, hey, next time when this comes out, can you kind of give me some tips and pointers? I know I used to be a PTAC counselor, and we hosted a session with doing business with the state. And a lot of times, if you can do that, maybe even ahead of time before something's coming out, or if you look at something in the past, you definitely can't ask questions when a bid is open, but you may definitely want to ask for the debrief, see if you can kind of go over some things so that way you can be best prepared the next time that it comes up. But that's what I would recommend. And then also you can also maybe reach out with PTAC if some of that had to do with like your proposal, something like that. If there were some things that you needed to do to tweak your proposal, as far as responding, if it was a RFP or something like that, you could also follow up with the PTAC counselor for some additional insight and assistance.
That's a good point. I know, like, as soon as a one-time bid, the ITBs, as we mentioned, once that gets awarded, it'll actually be in that current contracts that you could go out and view and see what it was. And there are opportunities for records requests and everything gets posted.
Yeah.
There's a short period of time we have to go through that, but for the state, it's a very similar thing. I don't know if we have if it's labeled a debrief. I just know that the transparency is on the website as soon as it's up and posted for those contracts to help look at the next opportunity. So I think that's. And I saw Joelle had asked a question about a little more on the market your business part. Is there anything specific about the marketing of your business that I can explain or highlight a little bit more?
You just mentioned reaching out to agencies. So I just wanted a little bit on more on this, like the way to reach out, like what's the content of, if it was like by email, or like what did you exactly mean by this, if you don't mind?
Oh, that's fine. What I'm showing on the screen here, as you can see underneath Ohio Procure, there's contacts, the agency contacts, the agency procurement officer. Let's see if I click that and see. Yeah. And it'll list, doesn't list a phone number, lists an email to reach out to them. A name, contact, and all of these people this list is updated regularly, as you can see, August 3rd of 2021. So anytime there's a change at that level of the APO or the CFO, that officer gets updated on this list, and you're able to reach out to them. Again, if you feel like your goods or services fit any of these department agencies' needs, you're encouraged to use that.
Thank you.
Okay. And like I said, within contacts as well, there's information out there that and you can reach out to. There's all different types of groups. Again, not everything's posted. Like across the state, like I worked at the city of Dayton once. I did a presentation out there, and they were, they had their own site. And I was unaware of that. I thought we posted everything like that. So again, it's important to look at your local counties, townships, cities, organizations, and they may have other opportunities that are not being posted here. Our goal in the big future would be able to put one board where you could sort through, a lot of potential solicitations and narrow it down with a limited search, and we provide a better efficiency. But I think we're getting there. For what we made strides with Ohio Buys, there's a lot of opportunities for locals to participate here in the next couple years for opportunities within the state. So does that list show what the agency is buying? Actually, no, that list does not show what they're buying. It just shows you to contact within the agency. Again, you can see what's out there. Like right now, you can see if you go by going to the current contract search or the current on Ohio Buys here as well, you can see what the details of what people are purchasing, but there's not a list of like what exactly an agency on this list would be purchasing. Again, they purchase all types of goods and services. It depends on the type of time of year and the type of good. It may be once a quarter, it may be a bi-weekly, it could be once every 2 years they purchase something. It just really comes down to their need. But if you have a widget or a service that you would deem that could be used more often, it makes sense that it's like, oh, this is something that they would use every day or during this period of time. That's when you want to reach out to those APOs and let them know that what's there, and if they're interested, then there's additional processes they can go through to do that. Donna, your question: how to obtain tax exempt forms for the state? I don't know that answer, sorry. I believe we don't. There's I'm trying to think what organization. There's a state agency that oversees that. I'll have to look into that, unless Shonda, you might have experience.
I forget, because it's where you file is it the I-9 or something? I forget the name of what she's talking about.
It's the first time someone's asked that. And
yeah, I can Google. Let me
Donna,
see.
we'll look into it. If we can't find it
Yeah.
right now, that's a good question. I'm sure, I know there's a certain group of people. A treasurer of state has to do with certain things of financial sort of, you have to be registered with them and certain things. So I'll get back. We'll try to find the answer, and we can follow up with everyone. So if everyone
All
else
right,
has
thank
that
you.
question.
Yeah, if you can find out, James, and then just email me, then we can send that out. Yeah, because there is an agency. I can't remember. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
I think it's like the auditor or the treasurer of state, one of those two
Yeah.
that handles that, because
I wanted to, James, circle back to the question that somebody asked about is there a list that shows what the agency is buying? And I know and I don't know if it's DAS or the Ohio Developmental Services Agency, Ohio Department of Development now, excuse me, puts out the forecast. So every year they kind of predict what the agencies are buying. And I know with that forecast, it would have every agencies, the boards, commissions, it would have a list, the commodity codes. Can you show access to that? And I don't know if that's DA, I don't know who puts it out, but are you familiar with what I'm referring to?
I know Equal Opportunity, EOD group.
That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
It's
okay. It was in the slideshow. I know we used to they used to forecast those for just MBE spends that were coming up. Now that is under Department of Development, under that one-stop shop, like I was mentioning earlier. Let me see here. Let me think.
If you can maybe try to go to that.
I'm just trying to think. Let's just go back to the home page.
And then while you're doing that, let me see if I can find this text real quick. And then this probably will be the last one.
Now here is the page I'm showing, is that we currently have equal opportunity because again, July 1, they moved that whole group underneath there. There are some documents within here that would, but like I think what I show on the slide, the most current one they have is like a spreadsheet, and I don't, because I know what you're talking about now, because when they're able to look at that and say, oh yeah, they're building something and they already have set aside contracts that are coming with that within the fiscal year 2023.
Let's see, I'm looking at the apply.
Is it down here? I apologize.
No, that's okay. While you're, nope, it's good that you're looking. Ohio. And then while he's looking for that, this has been a great, very informative training session today. I know I always love participating in these because you always learn something new, as a resource partner. You may know a few things, there's always new things that you learn. So, and then also I love the link that links you to the other counties, what they have. I think they had it in another place before, but it's good to see that they have that. And then also the weekly webinars that they're hosting this month. And then I think they'll shift to bi-weekly next month. So you want to definitely take advantage of those. Are there any additional questions before we head off? James did an excellent job today. Covered a lot of information, as you can see. And I think it was very interactive. Everybody asked some really great questions. I'm glad that he was able to take us to the website to show us things, but let's see, everybody's saying thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I guess one thing I do see is like this, the scorecard tells you what people have spent.
Okay.
But it's not what we're, because I used to, I think it was under publications, but it's not there anymore. Well, here it is. Sorry, I thought it was a link. But you can see here on this page, but they don't have it updated since fiscal year 20, and that
Okay.
was 2019. So I don't know
Let's see
where.
what the,
Okay, and this brings up a
Excel sheet.
yeah, spreadsheet. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it says projected under this
Okay.
account code. So it's definitely something, but it's outdated. Agency contracts. Yeah, it's just definitely outdated. There's nothing reflective of the past couple years on this. Now you can reach out to their department and inquire. I would suggest that.
okay.
Because I believe the phone numbers, everything transferred the same. It's just who they report to now and who oversees that.
I forgot that they merged, so
Yeah.
that's a good point.
And everything stayed up here. I don't know how long this is going to be here for, but it redirects them to that part. So hopefully, a lot of stuff here, like still like with the MBE and Edge and VBE and WBE, those forms and certification checklists still exist. Those would just be rebranded underneath the new agency, but there's a contact to reach out to for that, and then development. Yeah, let's see if there's something under here. And I started looking at this the other day because I had a question about it, and I was like, whoa, there's all kinds of stuff here now. You guys are there, procurement technical assistance centers. And so yeah, there's a lot of things on here. I'm just not too familiar with this site since everything got transferred over to them. But there are contacts. It's a mailing address.
And that may be the best thing. I know, looks like we are just a few minutes
Yeah.
over time.
Okay.
But I
So I'll try
think,
to do some research for you, Shonda, and get back so that people can,
Okay.
You can pass that along. But
I
I'll
have
get
one
the-
last question.
Yep.
Who do we reach out to as new businesses, as far as financial support? Like if we need funds to help, like if we're doing a purchase
Mhm.
and maybe the company we're purchasing from, they won't do like a net 30 or 60 or something, but you say you win the bid and you need finances to make that purchase, who can we reach out to?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer from our perspective. I don't know if that's something the PTAC group might have more insight on, because usually our by accepting the bid and winning the bid and saying you can provide that, usually, however that has to be, however you do that, to my understanding, but it wouldn't be, we don't, that I'm aware of, there's not like a link to or a group of people that help with that on the state side. There might be someone else that would assist.
yeah, Donna, I think that is a great question. I think the best resource for that would be the SBDCs, the Small Business Development Center.
Okay.
And they are also housed underneath the state, kind of like PTAC. They get federal dollars from us, the SBA. But if you Google SBDC for Small Business Development Center, you can even get to it through the state's website. I don't know where. And then it's
Okay.
broken down by counties. And so if you are in Columbus,
I'm in Cleveland.
if you're in Cleveland, there is a SBDC in Cleveland. You can just Google the SBDC in Cleveland. And then they do have small business counselors that can assist with access to capital.
Okay.
That is one of the things that they do provide. Also, the MBACs may also provide that. And if you do have your MBE certification, I know for certain MBE, minority business enterprise, those that have those certifications, sometimes there are funding, and depending on what type of contract. So the MBACs Minority Business Assistance Center is another good resource. And they do have an MBAC in Cleveland. I think those will probably be the best resources. Also, I believe is ECDI in Cleveland, Economic Community Development Institute, ECDI. They're a micro lender.
Okay, you said economic.
Just Google ECDI.
Okay.
Economic Community Development Institute, ECDI.
Okay.
They're all around the state. They're a micro lender.
Okay.
They also get some assistance from the SBA, and so they may be able to assist.
All right. Now, don't, as far as the MBE, you have to be in business for a certain amount of time before you can get certified?
Correct, at least a year.
A year. Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
And I put that link, I was able to find that, Shonda.
Which for
the SB or
SBDC?
yeah.
Okay.
The link that takes you to that, maybe that's a big good point for
Yeah.
our discussion
Yeah.
here. That I put that in the chat just to kind of link it towards itsinohio.gov. But yeah,
Yeah,
it takes
any
you to
assistance as it relates to you as a small business, if it's starting up, growing, expanding, access to capital, the small business development centers do that. And then the PTACs are more specialized with government contracting.
Okay.
So both of them are great resources to assist small businesses. And one is more for general business and the other is more for government contracting type.
All right.
With that said, I do have in here, thank you so much, James. That was a great presentation. I actually love these last specific questions and asking James to, show you on the website, because I think sometimes as small businesses, we get some of the general information and there could be specific questions. So allowing him to point to those and taking the time, I think is real helpful. Again, here's the website for the Ohio Business Matchmaker. I just went to go look. and the webinar from the very first webinar, what is the Ohio Business Matchmaker, on October 6th is posted. They don't have the webinar from last week. So we'll see when they'll get that up there. I know it's been a lot. We're starting to do like 2 webinars a week, and we'll go to 4. So just check that out. I'll go ahead because you guys have asked. I'm just gonna, as soon as we get off, I will email the PDF for today because I didn't see the presentation on the attached to the website. Jane, if you're still on, if you can also type, usually it takes a couple of days, and the PTACs are also posting this presentation as well as the slides to their site. Also on PTAC site, they do have a ton of other webinars about government contracting. We do a government contracting series with them. So in addition to these recordings, there are also other recordings about how to do business with the federal government. So if you want to check that out, definitely check out, if you don't know anything about the Ohio Business Matchmaker, that October 6th webinar that's posted on the Matchmaker site, so that you can learn more about the Matchmaker. And then on November 17th and 18th, we hope that you can join us for the Ohio Business Matchmaker. And I believe the price is just $35. It is going to be a virtual event this week. Next week's trainings, we have, I believe, 4, 2 on Wednesday and 2 on Friday. On Friday, a subcontracting, small business subcontracting panel in the afternoon at 1. In the morning, a prime contractor panel. And then on Wednesday, small business resources, and there may be another. So just stay tuned. If you go to the Matchmaker website, you can look up top and you can look at the list for the different webinars. And then also if you click on recordings, you can access the recordings to the webinars. I also see that they have the webinars actually we did for last year's event that we did around this time last year. So those are still there. That's good information. So with that, I know we're over, but it was a really great session today. Again, thank you so much, James. Excellent, very wonderful job. Thank you so much, Mr. McCulty, for joining. And then each of you taking your time out. Be sure to make sure that you follow up with your PTAC if you do have questions, you need assistance, any stage of your journey, doing any form of government contracting, if it's with the state, city, county, or your municipalities, or even ODOT, even with the airports, the PTACs can definitely assist.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys have a wonderful day.
You also.
And, you're welcome. And thanks so much again.